back to the Smiley Face stuff, there's been 45 guys, young men, found in that same lake.
There were 12 in Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas. There's a spate, dozens in Chicago, dozens in Minnesota and La Crosse and Minneapolis, where I was recently. There are a bunch in Boston. There are some cases in New York City, including the case 0 that Kevin originally investigated and didn't pass his sniff test. A kid named Patrick McNeil, who disappeared in '97 from the Dapper Dog bar in Uptown, and very similar circumstance to another case I just investigated. You know, he was seen outside and he was drunk. He was super wasted all of a sudden. He was walking home, and there was a van that was seen following him with a man and a woman behind the wheel. And every time Patrick would stop, throw up, the van would stop. Every time he would turn a corner, the van would turn the corner. And he was last seen on 90th Street. He was found 50 days later, 12 miles down the river. And what Kevin and his team discovered was impossible given the current in the waterway. And you got to think the NYPD Water Patrol is out there every single day for 50 days, and they didn't see a body floating. Yeah. You know, like, and the kid, when he was found, Kevin and his team figured this out later, that there were fly eggs in his pubic hair. Fly eggs can't live underwater. And his body was found face up, but by the lividity that they discovered, he was killed and he died face down. And so his corpse only exhibited a few days of postmortem when he was missing for 50. So like if he was gone almost like, 2.5 months or 2 months, yeah. Where was he?
Yeah, his body would be largely decomposed in the water at that point.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it wasn't, and there's so many cases all around America like this.
Yeah. And so it's your belief then that they're all connected and it's a group of people that have this?
Yes.
Any guesstimation as to how many are in this group?
I would say, and this is where I differ from Kevin now, and I would like to say I'm no longer working with Kevin, and that's fine. I wish him the very best of luck in his investigation, and I'm forging forward on my own with my own investigation, my own insights, and what I believe is happening. I think that it's a group that is extremely sophisticated, very intelligent people that have been probably working together since at least the 90s, during the advent of the internet age, when there are all these chat rooms and you could do things without Big Brother like staring down your shoulder and saying, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" Like, I think these guys were disparate killers originally, that they enjoyed it, and they found a common calling together during the advent of the internet and these chat rooms, and they started talking about it, and then they started meeting up, and then they started hunting together and killing these victims. They created a group out of it. The group got bigger, membership expanded, and they have been killing ever since. And they've been doing it in a way in which law enforcement cannot typically detect because they're so expert at obfuscating details and arranging them to appear as accidents. And people don't investigate accidents as homicides. So evidence gets lost, key testimony gets overwritten, surveillance tapes get overwritten,
And the recurring theme or element / detail of all of them is that they end up in water and are chalked up as a drowning, an accidental drowning.
Exactly. In spite of the fact that oftentimes there's no water in their lungs.
Yeah. And how many do you think there are in this group? Do you have
Kevin and his team investigated, though they had a list that had over 700. Of that list that I looked at and that I went through, I believe over 300 are very credible and fit a very similar mirroring sort of demographic.
You're talking the actual murders?
Yeah.
What about the group of the actual killers?
The group, I'm sorry. Probably 50 or less.
Okay.
I would posit that several dozen members are active in cells all around the country.
And do you think that they live in these different locations or they travel to do it?
I think that they do a bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have a feeling, for instance, in the Austin cases, well, actually also the New York cases. So New York was one of the original hotspots, and it went away for a bit. And, it was Boston, it was Chicago, it was Minneapolis, it was St. Cloud, Minnesota, it was Wisconsin. It was, and then it was Austin. And now we have, I don't want to say we, but now there are 3 potential victims of this group just in Brooklyn, New York, like two of whom exited the Brooklyn Mirage music venue under very similar circumstances. Again, like separated from friends, left, or actually, no, I don't believe these guys were separated from friends, but they left the music venue and they both ended up in the same river, within months of each other. One of the guys was texting his friend saying, quote, "Dude's trying to kill me," end quote. And then he said, quote, "Dude's waiting for me outside." Dudes as in D-U-D-E-S, no apostrophe, to indicate multiple, plural. And this guy is the last anybody hears from him, and he dies, and he's found in the same body of water, and they chalk it up to drowning.
Yeah.
It's just...
Is there a recurring theme of always being drugged, and it's at some sort of establishment that serves alcohol, or is that just a lot of the time? Is it every time?
I don't believe it's every time. I believe that some victims who are more easily incapacitated don't really require that set of their MO, because if they are drunk enough, which again kind of muddies the waters of these cases, if you're super wasted and you're black out and you're stumbling home and there are no street cameras, no surveillance from the shops, you're past that, and a van pulls up to you with blackout windows, the door opens, a guy who's doing recon following the kid just runs up and fucking zip ties him behind his back and tosses him in the van. The guys in the van zip tie the ankles and further incapacitate him, maybe give him a shot of something to put him to sleep. That's just easy pickings.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of them are, I believe, drugged.
If you do almost like and maybe you have used AI or they have, is there a commonality between victims?
Yeah.
And what are they? I mean, other than being younger men, is there anything other than that?
They're younger men. In the beginning, they were predominantly white, but now it seems that the group is branching out and doing the same thing to people of color, and homosexuals as well. But yeah, they're typically younger, college age. They were usually white, but now it's changing. They were good people. They were typically, at least in the 90s and early 2000s, they were successful in sports. They were very bright. They got great grades. They had promising futures and careers. They were like the best and brightest. Any
political commonalities that you're aware of?
Not typically, that I know of. Yeah, not typically. Each. Yeah.
Where does the smiley face part come in?
So that again is, I want to give full credit to Kevin because he's one of the most brilliant investigators I have ever met, and he's done a phenomenal job at this. He and his team noticed early on that often at places of disappearance, aka abduction, places, body recovery sites, or typically there would be smiley face graffiti. And the media really went off with that. They took those comments and called them the Smiley Face Killers, which I think is a misnomer, to be honest with you. And I think it's kind of muddied the waters of otherwise really pertinent information and evidence. So they're called the Smiley Face Killers for that reason. There's often smiley face graffiti found at the body recovery sites and sites of abduction and sites near the abduction. I personally have a photo of a smiley face near a body, near a place in the Lady Bird Lake where someone went missing, where one of the victims went missing.
And it's, is it in every case or just a lot of them?
It's not in every case. It's in a bunch of them, but not all of them.
And it's always spray painted graffiti?
Mm-hmm.
Same color? Does it vary?
It varies. It varies. And that's why I think the theory has gotten the most flack is because people say, well, there's smiley faces under every overpass. There are smiley faces on every street corner. And you know what? I agree with that. I agree smiley faces are very prevalent. this I can't comment on because it's Kevin's own information, but he and his team investigated so many cases that they believe that there is a certain subset of graffiti that is known and used only by the group. But that's for him to talk about because, you know.
Would that be like almost like the experts that look at writing, whatever you call them?
Oh, yeah. What are they, cryptographers or something?
Yeah, I mean, like something where they would be able to discern, like, yes, the same person spray painted these.
Yeah, it's like handwriting experts who worked on the Zodiac case back in the 1960s.
Same kind of thing. Like
same
goes
kind of
into
thing.
that kind of thing, yeah.
But this is just one quick comment. That's where we kind of differed, Kevin and me, when we'd be out on the scene investigating. He would often look for smiley faces. And to me, I didn't think that was relevant or even credible, because sometimes we're looking at scenes that are over 20 years old and I'm like, the smiley face would be gone, but also like the smiley face doesn't tell us who they are. Yeah. It doesn't give us, like, I want concrete, factual, corroborating information, evidence always. Like, it's just, it's black or white for me in true crime now. And I don't believe as staunchly as he does that the smiley faces should be one of the main aspects of these cases. Yeah. I think, like, I don't even think they should be called the Smiley Face Killers. I think they should be called the River Killers or something. Yeah. Because that's the number one in every case, is the body of water.
Yeah. And a lack of evidence suggesting that it's an actual drowning.
Yeah.